Well, good morning. It's a bloody ripper again. Well, actually it's not. It's grey and overcast, but not to worry. It's still nice. We had a shower of rain in the night last night, and all is well here at the lake retreat. Well, all is well for me, but not so for someone else. Come with me. Yes. Last night, about 11 o'clock, I had an intruder. This is what happens to intruders around here. You do not want to mess with me. Some content may offend. Oh! He's dropped his guts. There's absolutely no way about that. Yeah, no, he was on the rustling around the bushes and came out on the grass. Not far from camp there, so I snuck over there and gave him an arrow, and actually used that broken arrow that I got the possum with the other night, and I managed to fix the arrow with a piece of manuka, just cut down nice and fine and poked into the arrow, and then joined it up, and yeah, used that again. So I didn't want to waste my other good arrows. So yeah, primo, got him. So we'll clean him up, and he's not big. He'll be hopefully a nice tasty one, but we'll clean him up and get him ready for breakfast and probably dinner as well. And we'll go and check our snares. There was actually one other one out here about 2 o'clock this morning. Woke me up, had a look around. He was a big brown one, a bit like the other one we got, and he's scarpered real quick, so he's a bit towy, and I suspect he's been chased before. So anyway, we got one on the ground. We'll deal to it, we'll eat him. We'll go and check our snares and see what the day brings. This is the mountain cabbage. It's a toy, and it can have a edible shoot in the middle of the fronds at the top there. The biggest problem is, of course, getting at it. I'm not going to climb out those trunks, and then the risk of falling onto the rocks here is probably quite high. That's the trouble. You'd have to either have a ladder, be a monkey, or cut the tree down. Neither of those which are applicable at the moment. Well, finally I found a tree with a bit of hound's tongue on it. Not a huge amount, but it's growing along the top of the tree here. Various spots down the side that I've picked a handful to take home. The tree's actually not too far from camp. It's up my water creek, so I know where it is, and I'll be able to come back and get a bit more. So that's handy. I'm at the end of the possum line. No possums. I had one trap activated. No fur in it, so I'm not quite sure what happened there. Something might have hooked its leg in it, who knows. I didn't see any more snares up there in the end. The bush is quite rough. I wasn't entirely happy with the lack of sign. Put me off a bit. So I've come back down to the valley floor around the creek, and I think what I'll do is I'll set some snares down around the creek and around the flat towards camp. I suspect the possums are coming down here more to feed. There's a bit more variety of food down here. Plus I've been getting them coming to camp a bit, so I figure a few more snares around camp, you know, we're in with a chance, eh? So once the boat's done, I want to pull those snares off the top anyway. It takes a lot of energy getting up there to go around them. It's quite steep and rough, so I don't mind keeping a few down on the flat here where it's easy and quick to get round. But once the boat's done, I want to get out in the water more and focus more on our fishing. Yeah, we've got to sort those buggers out too, so hopefully in a couple of days we'll be all good to go. Okay, this is a snare I've set just behind camp. It's got a counterweight on it, and I'm just going to bait it with a few droppings out of his poo tube. Excuse the technical term. Ugh. In fact, I might just put the whole thing there. Ugh. There you go. See what he thinks about that lot. Alright, just making up a little trigger for the next snare by camp. Pretty determined to catch this big brown possum that's been sneaking around, disturbing my beauty sleep, I might add. Can't have that. I need all I can get, don't I? Anyway. This is the bit that will go on the ground, just a peg. I'll cut a little notch in here. I'll show you in a minute. That's what it looks like. A little notch. And then the next bit, this bit here we'll have a rope onto the spring set, and a little notch in there. You'll see in a minute how that's going to work. So, peg, notch on the top, and this is your trigger that goes on the rope, and the two will just hook in there. When the weight comes on, tie the snare to this top one, and when you'll see in a minute, well, when he wiggles the snare off, it pops off, strangles him. Here's hoping. Oh, there we have it. Another spring snare by camp. So I've tried to make a bit of a lead in here. It's not, it's quite a difficult place to, there's no natural drawing, so I've had to make a bit of a lead in, but it seems to be, for whatever reason, he likes this little spot. There's quite a bit of poo around. There's nothing here to eat for him, I can't see. Maybe he just climbs up the trees and buys a view, I don't know. But it was handy for me too, because there was a nice springy little bit of manuka to use as a spring snare. So give it a crack. We've got two of those snares set near camp. A couple of nooses set as well, so that's another 4. So I'll do some more after lunch or later on this afternoon. I'm actually going to go for a swim now. Haven't been for a couple of days, and the sun's come out. And then I'll probably do some work on the boat. Okay, well, it's near the end of the day. It's Saturday, so what's that, 6 days? 7 days tomorrow. Yeah, so one more feed of possum left tonight, and that's it, no more food. Anyway, hopefully we'll find something tonight. I've set a handful more snares, so I think I've got about 17 out now. I'm actually getting low on paracord. I don't want to use any more up until I've finished building the boat. And on that note, I'm going to show you where I'm at. It still looks like a pile of sticks, I might add, so don't laugh too much, and you'll probably have a lot of trouble visualizing what it's going to be like. But once I start tying it together tomorrow, you'll get a better idea. So here goes. Now, these 5 members here will be the hull, and those hoops will form the shape of the hull in theory. These 2 long bits here will go on the top of the deck of the kayak, and they'll be a bit longer, because what I want to do is try and bend up the keel member and fix it to the top of the kayak or the canoe. So yeah, I know it just looks like a pile of sticks at the moment, but I'm at the stage where I'm going to start assembling it. So this is where things will probably break. You never really know until you start bending wood how it's going to go, and a lot of our wood in New Zealand doesn't like to bend. So I don't know, worth a crack. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, eh? But having the kayak, I think, is going to open up a few more opportunities for me. I can get across the bay easier to some of these other little headlands and do some fishing, perhaps even try a hunt somewhere different, although that requires quite a lot of energy, and I ain't got any of that to spare, I tell you. So fishing, I thought, would be the next week. I thought would be quite a good focus, and I haven't caught any from our shore-based fishing so far. The brown trout are just, they've got no mouths, they don't feed, I'm sure of it. So I want to get out into some deeper water, not too far out in the lake, because I'm going to be in a tarp kayak. I don't want to be bouncing around and surf. I want it to be flat conditions along the edge, but find some deeper water and try some jigging or get a bait down lower. Be nice to hook up on a rainbow or something that actually is feeding. The other option is to go over to one of the creek mouths not far away and drift the bait down the mouth of the creek, actually, while sitting in the boat. So there's a few options there. We won't get too excited about that just yet. First, we've got to make something that floats, and that could be the issue. So wish me luck. Row, row, row your boat gently across the lake. If it breaks and you sink, take it back and tell them it's a fake. Oh shit, hope it doesn't sink. Yep, perfect. Well, it's a beautiful time of day. Probably only about 20 minutes off dark, actually. The wind's just died away. The lake's calm. One of the best things about it is the bloody flies and the sandflies have just gone to bed, so they've been diabolical. Drive you insane. The air's cooled off. It's still warm. Been a hot day again. But just listening to the bird song. Soaking it all in. There's something about it I can't explain. This kind of experience out here alone certainly makes you stop and think about what you need in life and, you know, what you can do without. Do we really need a bloody cell phone? Do we really need a computer? There's all sorts of things we don't really need. Convenient, yes. Nice to haves. But boy, this brings you down to the real basics of living out here. A bit of shelter and a bit of tucker. That's about all you need. Moorporks are starting up. You can hear them across the bay. Blackbirds are chattering away, they're going to sleep. Won't be long and the odd possum will screech. Frogs are croaking. Not a boat to be seen. I've seen a couple of boats today, being Saturday. I've seen a couple of boats water skiing in the distance. So it's alright, it's been quiet. No one's been up this end of the bay. It's left me alone, which is great. Funny old thing being out here alone with no food, I tell you. Some days you think you can do it, sometimes you think you can't. When you've only got one feed left, in fact I've got none left now, I've eaten it. You think, okay, what's going to happen tomorrow? That is a bit of a worry. It'd be nice to have a bit hanging up on a tree or some reserves there. If all else fails, I'll go back to the good old mamaku. I've been eating that anyway, but it does have some nutritional value, so if I can't get anything else, that's all I'll eat until I get the next protein feed. So it's not easy though, I tell you. Just got to dig deep and persevere. The hardest thing for me is that I've got all these things I want to do. I want to do some more deer stalking and that kind of thing, but the reality is your body don't work. It doesn't have any energy. Every little thing you do is just hard work. Quite happy just to lay in the shelter all day out of the sun. Can't do that, but this time of year in the early summer, it's actually stinking hot here in NZ. It's actually dangerous. 10 minutes in the sun and you're burning red, and you just can't do it. You've got to keep in the shade. In some respects, the winter would be a little easier. A little cooler, a little wetter, you're more active, more inclined to be out doing stuff. Days are shorter, got less time to do it in. But out here in the early summer, you're really confined to early morning and evening for your more difficult tasks, or those requiring more energy anyway. Anyway, it's certainly a learning curve, I tell you. Oh, there's a faint breeze kicking in there, just beautiful. Well, it's another day at the office finished. I think I'll go and crawl into my boar's nest and nestle down for the night. No sign of any rain around. There was a little sprinkle in the night last night, but it's actually quite dry. The lake's actually dropped since I've been here, so perhaps they're taking more out to generate power. I don't know. Could do with some rain, to be honest. And mine can't do much about that, can we? Listening to the moorporks all chattering away over there. Something about the sound of silence, isn't there? It's almost a spiritual thing. I'm not a religious person, but sometimes when I'm out in the bush alone or anywhere alone in the outdoors, it's almost like some kind of religious experience. I know that sounds a bit odd, but it's a bit hard to explain really, but yeah, there's something about it. Anyway, I'm going to go make my bed, fluff up the duvet a bit, put the TV on, watch a couple of movies. Catch you later.